engineering, graphics and design learners, welcome to this lesson. We are live in classroom. Say hi, guys. Hi. Hey, those of you who don't believe me, would you like? No, let me not show you them. But there's an actual class in front of me. We're going to be teaching engineering, graphics and design, grade 11. And we are busy with mechanical assembly drawings. We are using the HSE workbook. We're on page 2.4. And in this lesson, we're going to be doing 2.4 and 2.5. And we're looking at conventions for when we draw mechanical assemblies according to the SANS guidelines. Now, just as a side note, I will make sure that in the description after this live lesson, I actually leave for you the download link for the SANS document. And of course, a lot that we'll be discussing is in this document. There's also a video that I discuss this entire SANS guidelines. And so we're just going to focus on the parts that is actually in front of us. But it is important for you to watch that video to make sure you have a full understanding of the SANS symbols. I'll have that link in the description below. All right. So what they've given to us grade 11s is they've already assembled for us here a full sectional front view. Okay, ons het voor ons 'n vol snit vooraansig. Nou as jy net vinnig kyk na hierdie wat vir ons gegee word, kan jy sien dat jy 'n romp het waar 'n as met 'n bout en 'n seskantige moer 'n katrol in plek hou. Okay, en daar's twee busse aan weerskante. So it's some kind of a pulley system that they've given to us. We've got a shaft here, a bolt with a hexagonal nut on the one side, and it keeps in place this pulley with the two bushes on either side, okay? And so there's going to be a rotation here, but it's just for you to have an understanding of just the initial thought. And now they ask us to hatch all the applicable components, features according to the SANS guidelines, which I've referred to earlier. So what you're going to need is you're going to need your ruler and you're going to need a 45-degree triangle. And so we're going to start off by hatching the biggest component here, which is the body. Okay, ons begin altyd by die grootste komponent. Natuurlik, jy weet nou al sekerlik dat hierdie dele is 'n rib of 'n web wat die romp ondersteun, so dit gaan nie gearseer word nie. Alright. The ribs here on either side is there to support this body, and so if I hatch in its length like here, we're not going to hatch that. So I'm going to start off with my 45 degrees, line it up, and if you have a triangle like I do here that's got some lines for you already, you're going to use that to space, and because this is the biggest object, your spacing can be bigger than with your smaller parts. So we're just going to, I've got a little mark there on my actual square, and I'm going to use that to equally space at 45 degrees all the way through this body, my hatching. Okay, so jy gaan jou arsering daar evenredig spasieer, omdat dit 'n groot voorwerp is, hierdie romp byvoorbeeld, kan jou spasiering 'n bietjie wyer wees as sê nou maar met ander dele, maar maak asseblief seker dat dit steeds evenredig is. Okay, so you will lose marks here if this hatching isn't done consistently all the way through. So please help yourself out and make sure you do this with me, spacing it evenly all the way through. Okay, it's one casting, and so this direction stays the same. It's one body, it's not different parts here. It's one full body that we're using. Okay, quite the number of lines to be hatched. Okay, there we have it. That is our main body. We already said that the ribs, because it's in the length, it's not sectioned, so this is just left as it is. 'n rib of 'n web, wanneer dit in sy lengte gesny word soos hier, dan word dit bied ondersteuning aan hierdie romp, word dit nie gearseer nie. Okay, dan jou katrol, that's the second biggest part. Now you can change direction, and we can, I'm going to use the second line here, And remember, this is a pulley that goes all around. It's one casting. So even though I've got two sides to it, does the direction change or is the direction the same? Verander die rigting nou as ek nou by daardie gedeelte kom of bly die arsering in dieselfde rigting? Kom, ek vra vir julle, moet ek nou hier aangaan met dieselfde rigting of moet hy verander? Selfde rigting? Hoekom? Why the same direction? Because it's one casting, it's one circular casting, okay? So the spacing stays the same, the angle stays the same. So by looking at your hatchings, you could determine which components are made of the same material and which are made from different material, or perhaps which components are the same or different. So you can see here, it's one pulley going all around, hatching exactly the same in both directions. Okay, let's go to the bushes. Here they are. Now I can decide either one of these angles, but is it a different component? Is hierdie busse hier verskillende onderdele of is dit dieselfde as die romp? It's different. Look there, there's a solid line all around. So I can only do it 45-degree angle in this direction or that direction. Pick in whichever one. But now, make sure that this hatching does not line up with one of those that you've already drawn. Okay? So the spacing here is going to be different than the adjacent component. Okay? So die rigting of die nabyheid van hierdie arsering moet nou verskil met 'n aangrensende komponent. I'm going to repeat myself again. You see here, now this is one bush on this side, there's another bush on this side. We can't have them in the same direction. This bush here, it's one bush. Okay, this is one bush, although it's circular, but there's a different bush. I have to change my direction. Okay, let me start here on the end. So I'm keeping the spacing the same as the first one, but I'm just changing direction. The spacing is the same because it's the same material, it's the same thing, but it's just a different part. So I'm going to change the direction of that. Ja of nee? Okay. One last. Okay. Do I hatch a shaft? Gaan ek 'n as arseer? No. Gaan ek 'n seskantige moer arseer? Hexagonal nut? Am I going to hatch that? No. Am I going to the bolt head? No. Why not? What are these components? These three that I'm not hatching. What are they called? I'll give you an add-on here. They are called fasteners. Fasteners. Okay? Hegmiddels in Afrikaans. Hechtings of hegmiddels. Okay? Here's the rule. Anything that is used to join something together is never sectioned. Hoor julle my? Enigiets wat as 'n hegmiddel gebruik in hierdie voorwerp word nooit gearseer nie. Nie 'n skag nie, nie 'n boutkop nie, nie 'n moer nie, nie 'n wasser nie, nie 'n klinknaal nie, not a crab screw, nothing. Nothing that's used to join things together is going to have a cutting plane sectioning through it. Happy? Any questions on this first example? Alright, let's move on to the second one. We're going to pick up some speed here. There's our second one. Now we can again start with our main body. There it goes. And you can see here, this body and that body same. So I'm going to have the hatching again nice and big here. Evenly spaced. If it's too close, you're wasting your time. Okay? As jou arsering te naby mekaar is, dis die ander nadeel, dan gaan jy nie klaar kry met jou tekening nie. So moenie te, jy kan nou sien, myne is in goeie verhouding. Moet nou nie ook so groot maak dat jy net twee lyne trek deur die hele romp nie. Okay? At least still evenly spaced all the way through. Gonna go now to the stop end there. Alright, there's an oil hole. I'm going to skip that oil hole. go to either side. All right, that's our body. All right, then our gear. So our gear, we can flip our direction now. We're going to use the same. We don't hatch the gear teeth. That's never hatched. This end here is the actual teeth part of it. So just the solid part of this gear we're going to hatch. Okay, and that's the convention for a gear. So you're going to draw many gears still in your drawing career. So please remember that the solid part of the gear, that part is hatched, this inner part, but the actual gear, the teeth of that gear is not hatched. Okay, so die tande van die rad word nie geharseer. All right. Then I've got a key. Whenever I have a key, I'm going to have a partial section, gedeeltelike snit. So jy vat jou vryhand en jy teken vir my daardie gedeelte. And then at 45 degrees, you have to determine its own spacing again. You are just going to hatch that part. Okay. Very cool. Do I hatch a washer? Yes or no? Why not no? Because it's a fastener. The hexagonal nut, yes or no? No. The key here? No. The key way here? No. The shaft? No. What about this S-brake here? That I do. Okay. So pick again for it its own hatching style. Right. Then I've got a bush here. I'm going to change the direction and this bush goes all around, so the top and the bottom is going to be the same angle, same spacing. So there we're just going to continue. Okay, try not to go over over the lines here. Try and keep this neat. Okay, if I look at this again, we have a rib here. Is this hatched? No. Hierdie rib word nie geharseer dieselfde rede as die een langs aan hom. Tande van jou rad word nie geharseer nie. Wanneer jy spuit, moet jy gedeeltelike snit doen. 'n As word nie geharseer nie, wasser word nie, 'n moer word nie geharseer nie, spy word nie geharseer nie, ook nie spy gleef nie, ook nie oliegat nie. Alright, so all of this is quite done quickly and neatly. Any questions on this one? Yes. Any freehand shape here. Yeah. Just start on the outside of the key and end on the outside of the key. Okay. Daai gedeeltelike snit enige vorm. Dis ongeveer so iets. Anybody else? Last chance, half a chance. We're going to go on to 2.5 right now. So if you've got, you can flip 2.5. They're asking exactly the same question. Whenever I line up my paper, I'm just going to make sure I'm lined up here. Yes. Ja. Die klas is choknumbo. Okay, we're on 2.5 now, and we again have the same question. Now look at this. If I look at this drawing here, all right, this is 2 parts, 2 flanges. There's the one going all the way through, and it's joined there with a bolt and a nut on either side. So I've got 2 main components, all right? Those are the biggest components. So I'm going to start off with my 45 degrees. I'm going to make nice, big hatchings for the one side. This is going to be, it's a different component. There's a line running all the way through here. So this can't be the same angle, ne? Can't have the same angle here. So we'll flip them now. Let's just do all of these quickly. Okay, like I did there, I just missed that one, so I'm just going to see if that fits. So very tight. Okay, all the way through. Then on this end, there's one that I missed. Okay, once I've done one, if I flip it now, I could very easily, especially these, they can line up like this. So you can use this center part to give you some direction. Okay, kan julle mooi sien? Alright, there's the main component. Then if I see a key, what do I know about the keyway? Wat weet ek van 'n spygleef? Help my. Jy gaan 'n gedeeltelike snit. So weer 45 grade. Enige hoek, maak seker daai, ek dink ek gaan hom sommer aan die ander kant toe want hy is reg langs aan daai, né? Alright. A new spacing, different angle. Right, then we have right here, we have an S brake. You can again change the direction there. It's a nice small part, so your smaller parts, the spacing should be closer to each other. Alright, same direction for this side. Okay, what part am I missing now? Do I, okay, air parts, of course, that we're not going to hatch. We're not going to hatch the bolt, also not the nut, not the shaft of this bolt. Here we have another shaft. This key now, if I would section this part, do a partial section, will that give me more information? Will it help me? No, it's only here that it does help me. You see that? That's why here I can do it, but I'm not going to do it here. I'm not going to do the key, not the keyway either. There's another air cavity here, not going to do that. Same on that side. So that's basically the fullness of this flange assembly. Hierdie flange samestelling, netjies gedoen, gaan nie my hegmiddels gaan nie gearseer word nie, liggedeeltes gaan nie gearseer word nie, daar's weer lig daar in die middel, 'n spy van bo af, dit gaan my nie help ek doen enigiets nie, ek gaan nie meer inligting kry nie, dis net hier waar ek 'n gedeeltelike snit doen, waar ek meer inligting kry rondom daai spygleef en daai spy, en natuurlik die S-breek aan die einde. Okay, alright, the last one for this lesson is on the right hand side. This is a bit bigger drawing. Let me just zoom out a bit for that one. Alright, let's have a look here. Alright, so this rivets are fasteners and are not hatched when sectioned. So they actually tell you that here on top. Alright, so here's a rivet. There's another rivet. There's a key. So immediately when I see a key, I know there's going to be a partial section. Alright. Then I've got different components here. I've got my flange. It's again one flange going in a circular direction, and I've actually started off. How nice was that for them? They started off here. So we're going to try and use the same spacing all the way through. You can do that with me quickly. Here's a one trick in this one that I hope you are going to remember. I'll tell it just now as soon as I finish this hatching. I'm going to share with you a new concept that I'd like you to remember. Right, and if you've kept up with me up to now, you are not going to have any homework. How nice is that? Alright, let's do that key quickly before I share with you. Okay, you don't section the keyway and you don't section the key. Okay, so daai arsering weer eens nie in die spy gleef nie en ook nie in die spy nie. Alright, So let's forget about this part, just concentrate on this part. We have our rivets. We're not going to hatch it. But then they have here a thin blade, a dun lem wat hier hardloop. Alright, practically to try and hatch this, it's going to be very difficult to do it accurately. It's a very thin component, so my hatching is going to be very close to each other. So the rule here, when I have a thin component like this, is I color it in. Alright, so just freehand coloring it in. You're going to darken it. Try and do it neatly so that you don't have any white parts in it. But you can just color it. If you want to change your pencil, you can do so. This is the end of the shaft. You're not going to color that in. There's the blade again. And also on top here. Okay, so just pay attention. Whenever there's a thin component like this blade, it's okay for you to color it in fully. Okay, so as so 'n dun komponent soos hierdie is wat geharseer moet word, dan kleur jy dit net vir ons in. Alright, then we head on over to the right hand side. We've got our bigger component. Now look here, I've used the 45-degree angle to this side for these components, so I'm going to just keep that spacing the same. I'm going to try and optimize my time by, again, not doing them too close to each other, evenly spaced. Okay, there's actually a lesson that I want to teach you here, so I'm going to do it here on top. Just zoom in here. If you're in class, just put your pens down quickly, so I want you to pay attention here. Okay, just pay attention to this. Here I have an internal screw thread. There you can see it. Internal screw thread. That is a bolt that was bolted in here. Do you see that? That's a bolt's external screw thread. So at this point here, I've got the internal and the external screw thread that's combed into each other. Maak het weer sin, né? Hierso is jou eksterne skroefdraad en hy het ingedraai in daai gat in daai interne skroefdraad. Yes? So what's this area here? That's actually air, do you believe me? So that end stopped there. And this here is air. That little bit is in that screw thread on the internal side. It didn't turn all the way into the end. It stopped. So there's a gap there. Are you with me? So my hatching, ladies and gentlemen, needs to go when it touches this to that inside. I'm just changing my spacing here because I want, at the bottom I didn't get that. That hatching needs to go all the way to the end. They're going to pay attention to that. But on this here, it touches the outer edge. Do you see that? But here again, to the inside. You see that difference? Where that line goes to the inside, it touches, but there it stops on the outside. Are you with me? Okay, sorry, I'm going to just try and space my spacing now because I'm actually working the wrong direction. But that is very important. You're going to get this in every drawing, I guarantee you, between now and your final exam. They will give you, when there's an internal screw thread, that hatching goes to the inside. The moment that something's turned into it, it stops at this, where those two lines come together. Okay, interne skroefdraad, as jy harsering doen en daar's nie iets in dit ingedraai nie, dan stop hy aan die binnekant. Die oomblik as iets ingedraai is, dan stop hy aan die buitekant. Jy moet nou nie die mekaar raak met my. Daai is nie 'n lyn. Stop teen daai. Julle is met my. Nobody's mad at me. Everybody's with me, right? Okay, let me zoom out again. Alright, so we're moving forward. Alright, here's another component, runs all the way through, change of direction. Slightly closer in spacing. Okay. Anybody learn something new today? Glory, yes. Like klingarm, so. Alright. Okay, I can go from the top here. There's a fastener. Not going to worry about the washer or the bolt. Coming down here, we have this bearing cover. Alright, there's the bearings. Let's do the bearings quickly. So I've got two different components here. One on the left hand side. Alright. And flip it. Not flip it, flip it. Okay, for the other side of this bearing. And I'm going to do the same on this side. Can you see there? Okay, flip it again. Nice and tight. Alright, can I zoom in for you? Okay, pay attention to that bearing. Alright, just to the right of it, we've got a connecting piece with a pin through. So in this bigger connecting piece, we're going to have our traditional 45 degree. Remember, when you get a drawing like this, of course, you're going to assemble it. You're going to be the one putting it together. So, you know, now we don't have any 3D reference of it, or we don't know how many different components or the materials it's used to. When you do a mechanical assembly, you're going to have all of that information. We're just looking now at the different conventions with regards to hatching. And I'll wrap it up to say what are the most important parts. This pin, similar to the key, is going to have a freehand partial section. Flip it 45 degrees. Okay, so when you come to the final exam, they're just going to say, you know, insert the correct hatching. There's not going to be a YouTube video to tell you how that looks. You'll have to go through every component. Make sure you don't miss the S brakes. Make sure you don't miss any partial sections. Make sure that adjacent parts aren't competing with each other with regards to hatching. Make sure that when you have a bearing, when it's two parts to it, the hatching direction changes. You don't hatch any fasteners. When you do have a screw thread and it's internal and there's nothing screwed into it, it goes all the way to the inside. When there's something screwed in, it stops. Double check your shaft. Most of the time, or never will you have hatching on the shaft except if there's a keyway. And when you have smaller, thinner components like this, you can color that in. And then of course, a rivet is a fastener, so that's not hatched. So just to wrap it up in Afrikaans, enige dun komponente word ingekleur, nie nodig om dit te arseer nie. Wanneer ek klinknaals gebruik, of boute, of wassers, of enige wegmiddel, spye, word nie gearseer nie. Okay? Wel, wanneer ek 'n as het, en daar is 'n gedeeltelike snit, soos daar, of selfs hierdie kant, dan moet jy dit doen, as dit vir jou gaan help met meer inligting. Jou laars, beide kante van 'n laar, dis soos die bus in die vorige voorbeelde, en maak seker dat twee aangrensende gedeeltes nooit met mekaar beklei oor die rigting van rasering. Alright, that is an overview of page 2.4, 2.5. You should do exactly the same and smack your own mechanical assembly. Please double check in the description of this video. There's going to be a link to the video talking about the SANS conventions. That video you have to watch. Thank you for watching. Now it's your turn.